Hello everyone and welcome. This is part 2 of my Neorg config. Last time I got the basics working. Now I want to continue from that exact point, look at what the config already does and then decide what is actually worth adding next. So before I keep building this setup, I want to look at what I already have. Right now my Neorg config is small, but it is not empty anymore. It creates my nodes workspace, opens an index, makes .neorg files nicer to write, connects telescope, and gives me a few nice shortcuts under leader N. The part I like the most is that this setup is still boring in the right way. There is one Neorg module file, one keymap file, one workspace, and a handful of shortcuts that answer my real questions. How do I open nodes? How do I create nodes here? How do I search my nodes? And how do I link nodes to another? That is exactly where I want this video to continue. Not with a giant perfect Neorg config. I want to use this small setup, hit the first real annoyances and then add only the pieces that makes writing better. Folder workflow, links, tasks, YouTube scripts, maybe even Japanese study notes. The test is not whether this config looks impressive today. The test is whether I still want to write with it tomorrow. Okay, last time we wrote some to-dos that I wanted to do in part 2. First of all, there is presentations, flashcards and templates. So I found some Neorg template project that I think also Neorg points to, but the last update was like 2 years ago. It was kind of popular, but I don't think that it's maintained or they didn't change anything in the last few months. I decided to make my own. Okay, let's take a quick look at the template engine. I took some inspiration from things like the Emacs templates, and I won't go too much into the code. I created a small readme in case you want to use it, just with some installation inputs like where you have your nodes there, and also you have to create a template directory, so it can be in your nodes, but it can also be in another place, just so it can automatically find your templates and list the templates when you want to create a new node. So let's just jump into that. So as I said, you have to create a template folder. Here are my different templates that I created. And when we go somewhere into, let's just take YouTube, we create a new node. Then we give it a node name, for example, test template. Then it asks you if you want to use a template. We have the blank node and the different templates that I have. Let's go with a meeting template. We can change the title, meeting test. The project name. Since the meetings are always about projects, I gave it some attributes which the engine picks up and asks you to input the information. So the project name is just a YouTube video. And there we are. It added the template. It took a few things automatically. So here's the title that we just added. It used the username from me, categories meeting. It used the creation date and it also updates the updated date. And yeah, there we have a template. If we just create a new node without a template, let's do that quickly. Empty node, we take the blank template, and here we are with the blank template. And then in the blank template, we can also just add a template with an T. Then it asks you the same thing again. This time we use the presentation. And that is it. You can just insert templates, you can edit templates or add more in here. You can also use different directories, that's no problem. So if I have coding here, let's just create a new coding template. We call it coding 2. It is a blank note, just so we can add something quickly. And let's just put in a title for testing. If we now create a new node again, the testing new template. And there we have it. You see blank node coding/template and coding/coding 2, which is the new template. And if we enter this, we have nothing. That is because I forgot to save. That's always a thing. You have to save your things before you add them. Otherwise, they just get lost. Testing new template. Let's go in here. Then we insert the template again now that it's saved. Coding. And there we have the template, which is just the title. And that is the template's done. Since we already put in somewhere the template for the presentation, let's just go to this topic. Okay, so let's test the presentation. We already added the template in here. I took the liberty and added a few pictures. I'm going to show you right afterwards how I did this with the pictures. Let's just start the presentation. I do this again with leader N for notes, then P for presentation, S for start. Here we have a picture inside Neovim's presentation of Neorg, and this is a subscriber count. So please subscribe. 92% of you are not subscribed. Next we have another picture. This is kind of funny. 99.2% of my viewers are male and over 25, which is kind of fun. Then we just have a few slides. We can go forward and backward with arrows or with age, or not with age apparently. Then just with the arrows. I think up and down also works. Yes, up and down also works. And when you get to the end, it just says press again to close, and it closes. And you're still inside Neovim Neorg presentations. This is pretty awesome. So let's quickly check out how all of this works. So the presentation itself is a core module of Neorg, and you can just add this. The presentation does need Zen mode. If you use Nix and NVF, Zen mode is also available. Then you just load the core presenter and add Zen mode to it. Here we can register the main key for it. Then we follow up with the presentations that we do. So NPS is start presentation, NPQ is leave presentation, NPJ would be next slide, or you can just use the arrow keys. Since the presentation was kind of tricky in some places, I added some configurations. You can wipe code these or copy mine, whatever you want to do. This is mostly just for alignment and presentation and git signs and whatever you want to do. This is way too long. There are way too many configurations in there that I just played around with and wipe coded some. And yeah, I could probably delete most of it. So if you copy it, just beware that it's not a perfect system. But here there are just some settings for the overall design. And then another thing that I found pretty important is you can map different keys inside the presentation. When it's open, you can just press Q to leave it, or escape or space for the next slide, write it down for the next slide, and so on. So for the media stuff, so all the images that you can add, it is a little complicated to add images inside the presentation. Just adding images in Neovim is not a big thing. You can just use image clip envim or snags envim like I did. The problem is inside the presentation. So in my solution, if we go back to the notes folder, is it copies the stuff from my clipboard into an assets folder that is right beside the current presentation. So in here we have the two pictures that I showed you earlier, and these ones then get referenced and put directly in there. Once again, this is kind of a fragile setup. I built this pretty much that it works on my machine and grabs the images, and it just works for me. But if you are interested and want to build something similar, feel free to take my work as a reference. There are a few new keymaps that I added as well. So there is NI, paste image, that pastes the image path from the assets that I just explained right into the folder. Then we have NT for the template. Then we have leader NT to edit the template that you currently have open. I don't want to get too much into the setup code from it. You can copy it or you can just take it as a reference. It is partly wipe coded, so don't take the code as good. It's just there and it works for me, so do whatever you want with it. But if we go back to today's plan, we have the templates working and the presentation working. And again, this weird indentation. I think that's it for today. I have not done the flashcards yet, but let's just quickly create a new node with the plan for next time. So the goals for part 3, we still have the flashcards that I want to do in some way. Then I recently realized that all I did is testing in here and didn't really write productive notes at work or for anything else, just because I do not sync them yet. So syncing is a thing, either over GitHub or sync thing or whatever solution that I can come up with. And then next, I think this one kind of has priority. I want to daily drive it. That's not really a to-do for the video, but I want to get it that far that I can actually have a proper experience with daily driving it and report back how it works. So with that, we are finished. Just want to say again, thank you everybody for watching. And if you have any ideas or suggestions what I could do different or better, feel free to leave them. If you have any inputs for other plugins that I could use without wipe coding them myself, feel free to tell me about them. I hope you have a great evening or morning, and goodbye.